Welcome back to 100 Days and Beyond. I'm Dudley Peacock. This is episode 7. Yesterday in episode 6, we looked at the 4 constraints that kill transformation projects. Today, I want to give you the framework that decides what to do about them. It is called QDOAA. And if you remember nothing else from this podcast, remember these 5 letters in this order, because the order is everything. Question: delete, optimize, accelerate, automate. The single biggest mistake I see businesses make is to jump straight to the last step. They automate. They pay a developer or an agency or a software vendor to automate a process that should never have existed in the first place. And then they wonder why their costs went up and their team still hates the work. Let me walk you through what each of those 5 steps actually looks like. Every process review starts with the same question: why do we do this at all? Not how do we do it faster, not how do we do it cheaper, but why does this task exist in our business? I worked with a fencing manufacturer last year. Their sales team was filling in a 7-page quote form for every inquiry. 7 pages. The team hated it. The customers were dropping out halfway through, and the sales director wanted me to automate it. We sat down, went through the form field by field, and asked why each field was there. 4 of the pages existed because 12 years ago a regulator asked a question, and nobody ever reviewed the form after the regulator went away. The regulator had been gone for 9 years. The form had been asking for that information every single day for 9 years. Nobody had ever used it. We deleted 4 pages. The form went from 7 pages to 3. The dropout rate dropped by 60%. No software was written. No automation was built. We just asked the question. Once you have asked why, the next step is to delete. And this is the hardest step, because everybody in the business has an attachment to the process they own. The finance team does not want to lose the 3-way reconciliation that takes 8 hours a week. The sales team does not want to stop asking for references on every lead. The operations team does not want to drop the daily status report that nobody reads. Deletion is a management decision, not a technical one. You have to get in the room, look at every step, and cut the ones that failed the question. Be ruthless. If a task produces information that nobody uses, it is waste. If a task checks for a risk that has never materialized in the last 5 years, it is waste. If a task exists only because somebody senior once asked a question, it is waste. Every minute you spend automating something you should have deleted is a minute of your team's life spent on a task that adds nothing. After you have deleted everything you can, you are left with the processes that genuinely need to exist. Now you optimize them. This is the design phase. You look at each step, you ask whether the order is right, whether the handoffs make sense, whether the approvals actually catch errors or just slow things down. Optimization often means moving work earlier or later in the flow. A typical finding: the CFO approves every invoice over £5,000 before it is sent. But the CFO is approving based on information that was already checked 3 times upstream. Move the checks to the origination point. Give the finance team clear rules about what needs approval and what does not. And you cut 3 days off the quote to cash cycle. Optimization is done on paper before you touch any software. If you cannot draw the redesign process on a single sheet of A4, you are not ready to build it yet. Accelerate is the step everybody skips. Before you buy a new system, use the system you already have properly. Most finance teams I meet are using 15% of the capability in their existing ERP. Most sales teams are using 10% of the capability in their existing CRM. Acceleration is about training, templates, and standard operating procedures. It is about setting up the Excel model once so nobody has to rebuild it every month. It is about recording a 10-minute video that shows how the quarterly close is done, so the next person who joins does not have to figure it out from scratch. This is the step where the existing team stops being frustrated and starts being productive, and it usually costs almost nothing to do well. A week of focused process documentation, a week of targeted training, and suddenly the team is twice as fast with the same tools. Now, finally, you automate. By this point, you have deleted the waste, redesigned what remained, and squeezed the productivity out of the existing tools. Whatever is left after that is a real candidate for automation. And the investment case writes itself because you know exactly what it costs to run manually. You know exactly what it should cost to run automated. And you know the difference is worth paying for. Automation is cheap and fast when it goes last. Automation is ruinous when it goes first, because you end up paying a developer to encode a process that should not have existed at all.